West Side. Wayo, West Side.
Let's do some conversions, man. Let's do some conversions. So, what will be happening today is that I'm going to create a few more Wyrdvane Psykers. They need to sort of look like this guy here. I'll be picking off some pieces of the Empire Flagellant sprue. I will be using some Electro Priest bits, and I'll be rummaging through my Astra, Militarum and Space Marine bits boxes, and then I'll hopefully create a few more of these guys. But I'll show you how I do one more, because some people on Facebook said, "Oh, I'd love to see how you build one." And I said, I don't do tutorials. And they said, "Are you sure?" And then I really caved into the peer pressure. So let's give it a try, see if I'm any good at it. And yeah, okay, well, going to build something. That's kidding. Okay, since I don't have much room on my desk to put the tripod, I'll be filming everything from the side. But what will you need? You will need, at the very least, some kind of a cutting device. I suggest a lightsaber, but a lot of people don't have that, so we'll be using an X-Acto blade today. But a chainsaw would be nice, or I don't know. Let's make do with the X-Acto knife. Let's just cut the crap and start converting. You will need a clay shaper. I have this rubber one, size 0 I think, don't know for sure. Use it so much there's no print left on the wood. I will be using some metal clay shapers, just some probably some acrylic nail manipulation tools, or some dentist tools will be okay. I just like these metal clay shapers. I usually use these two, but I have a whole pouch full, all different kind of ends on them. Just take what I need for this build, and these two will be enough for me. And I have another clay shaper here, also rubber, but this is a chisel. It's more like a square edge. The other one is round, like tucking in modeling putty with it. And the putties I'll be using will be green stuff. You can get it in a roll, get it on a block. I just like to separate it in 2 pots, airtight, nice. Be using green stuff, or we could also be using Procreate. A little bit cheaper, holds a little less detail, but the cool thing of this is that it doesn't stick as much as green stuff does. You don't have to use as much water on your fingers to be able to manipulate it. You need some, but you don't have to turn your desk into a swamp to be able to use this. Okay, so of course we will be using glue. We will be using Tamiya plastic adhesive. What else will we be using? We might be using some power glue. Don't know yet. And of course we will be using pin vise. Yeah, pin vices are cool. For those of you who don't know what this is kind of like a little drill. Drills holes in plastic. Helps me pin them if I need to. Probably going to need to pin something on the Wyrdvane Psyker's stave. For stave. And lastly but not least, le clipper to get everything off this spool. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use today. If you don't have all this, well, you probably can take these two away and it wouldn't make a difference. Just maybe you can exchange this for like the back of a spoon or a cocktail stick. Just this like sturdy piece of plastic would do the same thing. But I will be using these tools.
Let's have at it.
Okay, so Wyrdvane Psyker is a psychic model armed with a stave of some sort, force stave, a las gun. So what I want to be on there is like at least a gun something with a staff that I'm going to convert with this little icon here. A holster, no gun in the holster because the gun will be out, and a hand that could possibly be made to fit with the gun. This is a right arm, that is a left arm. So I'm going to clip the hand off, put it on that hand, take the bell off, stuff like that. I always want my miniatures to have a head, so got a head of the Flagellant kit, body of the Flagellant kit, arm of the Flagellant kit. This arm is of the zombie kit. This is of a Terminator Assault kit or Black Templar upgrade sprue. I don't know for sure. I don't know where this holster came from. Look nice. And this is from my Astra Militarum standard Cadian shock troops. So this is what I have here, and found an interesting looking book on the Flagellant sprue, or maybe it's even, I don't know where I got that. Might even be the Primaris Chaplain. It's a nice book though. The scroll is definitely from the from the Flagellant kit. This is from the Astra Militarum Cadian shock troop box, and this is again a little skull on a piece of chain from the Flagellant kit. So this is what I'll be using initially to do my build. And first I'm going to clean up all the edges, get the flashing off. There's a little bit of some mold lines I need to clear there. Not that much, but at least some. And then I'll start dry fitting, start deciding where to cut, and then I'll start the conversion for real. So this is the mise en place. Get your body, your weapons, and a few optional embellishments, and then you're set. Okay, so it's impossible to see on this camera, but there's a little line there and it annoys me. It's a mold line, it's a super straight line over an otherwise organic texture, and I want it gone. So I'll take the back of my X-Acto knife and I'll just scrape it. You don't have to have one of those fancy tools. And just very gently scrape it over that artificial straight line, not ruining the rest of the texture. And then you clean it up. So that's a lot less intrusive now. So that's what I'm doing with all of these parts. And yeah, I really want to have that done. Otherwise ink or paint might catch behind it and it will be yeah, like a sore sight, and it will definitely break your immersion when you're trying to play the game. If you see mold lines filled with wash, you think like, oh no, why
The horror. The horror.
Okay, so now I'm ready to start making some important cuts. Let's put the things we don't need to the side. Don't need this yet. Don't need this yet. Need these two. Yeah. Okay, the rest is off to the side. So we're going to focus on the staff. We're going to focus on the icon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it right here above these rivets. Once I've cut that off, I'll probably have a surface big enough, wide enough with for this drill to go in nicely. Could drill a hole. Then I'll put a piece of paper clip in there with a little bit of green stuff and drill that out. Put the paper clip in the bottom of this one. I'll combine these two to become a 4 stave. And yeah, okay, so I'll be cutting this off so it sits flush here, and then the drilling can commence. Okay. Let me put my phone down so you can see what I'm cutting. I'll try to work here so it's visible. I'm taking a little bit of poster tack so things don't start flying around. The object I want to cut, put it in the poster tack, put my X-Acto knife on top of it, and I'll just make a clean cut. as flush as I can. So, now, I don't throw this away, I'll just keep it for a rainy day. Maybe I get to use it for something. Okay, so now this is quite a clean cut, but not really. Really, I need to clean it up, and then I'll cut this part. So, very carefully I'll take some slices off the top until it's really straight and level. Okay, now it's time for the icon. Don't need the poster tag for this because I'm not. This bit, it's nothing. Can't ever use it again, so shaving the bottom off till it goes flush. Now I'll make a hole there, and I'll make a hole there with the pin vise. Really boring to watch, but I'll try and show it the best I can. You just have to go on there, find the middle, and force it in there a little bit until at least the tip has made an indentation deep enough that the pin vise won't jump away once I start using this mechanism here. Don't want to drill on my fingers. There's a little hole already. This is going to be hard. I'll be back in a second after I drill this out. Okay, so I took the stave, I don't know, drilled a hole in there, did the same for the icon, and now I got a little piece of metal I cut off a whisk, but you could also just as easily use a paper clip. So I'm going to attempt to not drop the camera as I do this. I'm going to put in the metal, I'm going to stick it in this hole as far as it'll go, not forcing anything. I think the hole is about 4 millimeters deep. Not that epic a hole, just enough to hold the metal. And the hole on the other side is also about 3 millimeters deep, so I'll just use a marker to mark where I want to cut. That's a guideline, so I don't create something that is too big. Otherwise I'll use a boatload of green stuff and that'll look nasty. So, okay, take out the metal and just put it on some poster tack. Stick the poster tack to the cutting mat. Take my clipper. Now the struggle begins. This is really hard metal. With a paper clip I would be through it in a second. But these metal rods from a whisk there, about 1.5 millimeters thick. Okay, so I used the poster tack to weight it down so the little piece of metal wouldn't fly everywhere. Now I'm going to take a little bit of green stuff, just a little bit, not that much. I'll use a clay shaper to get it out the pot. Just take a crumb, really. Crumb is enough. A crumb of yellow and a crumb of blue. Not using the same side of the clay shaper to dip in both pots, otherwise I'll set off the hardening process if I leave a little bit of yellow in here. So I got my 2 crumbs of blue and my single crumb of yellow, and I'll Squeeze that together until it goes green. That's why it's called green stuff, because it's green stuff actually. It's a plastic epoxy that you can knead. The real name of this is called kneadetite. Okay, when I'm sufficiently happy with the color of green and I feel that it's mixed well, I'll roll a snake out of it. Like really, really small, shitty snake. And I only really need a little dot. Like what's on the tip of my knife is more than enough. Because I don't want to clog the entire hole with green stuff. I want there to be room for the pin. So, now I take my Uber glue. Because the green stuff isn't dry. So I can't use the Tamiya yet. Take my Uber glue. Just put one little drop here. So that's enough. Now take my knife, put my little piece of green stuff in the hole and pull back. Now leave that like that. And I'll do the same thing for this bit. Okay, let's see. Just take a little dot of green stuff on my knife. Just a dot of power glue, Uber glue. Leave the dot of green stuff in there. Clean my knife. Now I'm taking this piece of metal I just got. I'm jamming it up the icon. So it's in there. This is called pinning. Oh, I pushed it in too deep.
I pushed it in too deep.
Let me see if I can wiggle it out of there. Oh, I can cut away a little bit of the plastic so it still works. Yeah. There's enough of the pin left. To make this work. Okay. So put some glue on top of the pin. And I want the skulls to face down when the arm is going forward, much as this one. I want those skulls to be on the bottom. So I align the pin with the hole and the green stuff, and then I hold it for a bit and give the glue a chance to dry. See? It's sticking. If you hold it for 20 seconds, it'll be fine. Can't wave it around yet, but it's in there. Okay, put that face down and leave it to dry. Next thing we can do is use this strand of green stuff we have left to make this shoulder fit, because the flat space on the model is a little bit bigger than the shoulder here on the bell. It looks good, but I don't know. If you're holding a gun, you might be want to holding it a little bit of, maybe a little bit sideways. So I'm going to like make sure that the armpit is raised a bit so I can tilt the gun. Going to get rid of the bell first. So, poster tack, knife. I'm going to cut just above the hand to get rid of the bell. The bell is going to go in the chop box. And then this bottom piece of his hand where he used to be holding the bell, I'm going to try and make that the grip for the gun by shortening it a bit. So in this case I don't want it to fly away. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting the piece I want off first, piece I need to go second. Now I'm trying to save the piece I want from the poster tack. There it is, very small part. Now poster tack is clean off the hand, as you can see. I'm going to level this out, create a flat surface for where the gun will come. Now I'm going to put a little bit of maybe, let's say, Tamiya, because there's no need for the super glue now. There's no green stuff involved yet, or there's no green stuff involved, so I can use this plastic adhesive, which is a lot better for the airways than breathing in all the super glue. So I added a little piece back. Now it looks like a gun grip coming from his hand. Now I'm going to liberate the gun from the right hand that is on it. Get my poster tack. Find the gun. Put the gun in there. Okay, and I'm going to slice above the index finger. Like that. Pull away the poster tack. And I have a clean gun. Now this piece of the gun can go in a right hand or a left hand. No. There's no paint on this gun. The gun is primed, but where I made the cut there's no paint, so I can use the Tamiya again. This is plastic adhesive. It melts the two plastics together, so it's much stronger than power glue. Power glue is just fast. Power glue is a really crappy product actually. Like super glue, power glue, uber glue, all those kind of insta fix glues, they tend to come loose after a year or two. They lose their adhesive strength after a while, and this just creates a bond that is permanent between the two pieces of plastic, which is nice because then you really have to abuse the model before it comes apart. Okay, so he now has a left hand with a last pistol in there. Leave that to dry. That'll be cured in a bit. Okay, now the uber glue on the stave is done drying. So to reinforce it, I'm going to use the slither of green stuff I have left, and then I'm going to wrap that around there and use one of the clay shapers to tuck it in and make it inconspicuous. Going to place it on top. No glue needed. It's still sticky. So sticky that it loves to stick to my hand. Going to take the chisel shaped clay shaper. I'm going to really gently try to create a belt around the bottom of the stave, across the bottom of the icon. Okay, now I'm going to try and manipulate it in such a way that it looks like rope. So I'm going to make some braided impressions on there with the clay shaper. It has to look like fabric, not like a clump of clay. Okay, so once you're satisfied, you'll set that aside, and then you can start working on the body. Well, this shoulder is also a little bit too small for where I want it to go, so I need a little bit more green stuff to fill out the armpits, to be able to tilt the gun, to be able to tilt the force stave. I need to create something for them to be spaced out in a way that it doesn't look odd. I don't want any gaps, so I take a little bit more green stuff, trying to get a 50-50 mix of blue and yellow again. The more blue you put in, the harder it gets, and the faster it hardens. The more yellow you put in, the longer it stays mushy to pushy, and the more flexible it will be after you're done curing it. So this is air curing, air drying. All it needs is time. So green stuff is really sticky. So I created a ball of green stuff. Let's set that aside. Okay, I was talking about holding this gun sideways, right? Like a proper gangster. So that would mean this arm needs to come up. The shoulder would need to give away a little bit, so I'm going to make that happen by cutting it off at an angle, not too much, not too dramatically, but just creating a little slant piece big enough for the arm to sit on. Yeah, it looks nice. It looks nice. Okay, so this armpit is really flat, so I'm going to take a little bit of green stuff, not too much. Just a crumb would be too much already. Good way to judge how much green stuff you're taking is just to make snakes out of it, and then cut off a third, and take what you have left to do your work. Okay, going to put it here. Put the green stuff there at the bottom of the armpit. Now I want to push it up until it sits against the slant I made, and it's flush with that slant, because when it's flush with the slant I can later push it up against the arm. Okay, take some Tamiya plastic adhesive on top of the green stuff, on top of the plastic here. And I don't need to use super glue because I can push the green stuff into the arm to my liking. Okay, so taking the arm, the last pistol in it. sticking it against the slant, looking at it from multiple sides to see if I didn't create any gaps where there don't need to be any. Okay. Now you see that this arm is fixed, and there's a little bit of green stuff, like an abscess coming from his armpit. So I need to take out the excess, tuck it in. Can't push too hard because it's just drying, it's not ready yet. So I'm scraping it off with the chisel, just agitating it till it pops out, and then I'm scraping it off with the flat side. That's how you take off any abundance of green stuff. Just tuck it in so all holes are filled. Ha ha ha, all holes are filled. And then you scrape away where you don't want any to be. I don't know who any is, and I don't want it to be anywhere, but I don't want any green stuff to be in places where it looks dodgy. Okay. Sometimes you need to wet the chisel, either by licking it or dipping it in water. Otherwise all the green stuff would stick to it and you'd pull the arm right off. Okay, so now I got rid of all the green stuff. Let me see if I can show you under the light, because it's quite dark from that angle. Pulled away all the excess green stuff, and now the arm is proper gangster. Dog life arm. Super nice. Okay. Time for the other arm to be stuck to his body. Okay, so I took a slither of green stuff and I put it on top of his shoulder, because the zombie arm has a different dimension than his torso, so I need to create a bit of a shoulder for him. Just putting on a little bit of green stuff, not that much, maybe 2 crumbs. Getting my clay shaper, making sure it connects and there's no air left anywhere between the green stuff and the model. Okay, let me get my tummy out. Okay, so I put some plastic adhesive on his shoulder. Now I'm going to put in this stave. I don't want the stave to touch the ground, I want his feet to touch the ground, so now I'm going to position it I like it like that. I like it like that. Yes. Okay. Once you find a position you like, you start tucking in the green stuff again. Agitating it a bit. You have to wet your clay shaper. Then you try to pull it out over the muscle in the same pattern as the original sculpt of the arm, so that way you don't create a big blob but it looks like it's flowing. And you don't Try not to touch it with your fingers because green stuff will take fingerprints. And that will look really bad once again if you wash it. If you put inks on it or paints, you'll see your fingerprints exaggerated all over the model. So, I like that. Give the Tamiya a chance to set. Take some poster tack, put his feet in there, give the Tamiya some time to set. Once that's done, I'll be adding the head and holster, some embellishments. Okay, so I've waited a bit for the Tamiya to set, and now as an extra precaution I'll just drop some super glue on top of this, just a little pearl. That'll create an extra bond, and I'm also putting it in the armpit on the other side of the gun. So, I'm not trying to hit the parts where the plastic shows, just hit the parts where the green stuff are, because if you have any gaps, then the gaps will be filled with the uber glue. And then you set that back and you let it cure for about 20-30 seconds. Okay, so now I'm putting some Tamiya super glue on the bottom of the head, and then I'm going to stick it to the head. Stick it to the neck. Stick it to the neck, yes. I'm not going to stick the head to the head. No, that would be a little bit crazy. Okay. So, taking the model. Finding a good way to go in there without busting all these components that are still drying up. So probably need to do it with my other hand to get a better angle. Yeah, there the head is. Nice. But it doesn't look like quite right, so I need to work on the angle before the Tamiya sets. So, I'm going to push his face to the side here. Rotate it a bit. Make him look at his gun. That's better. Okay. So that's how it looks at the moment. That's the armpit we've done. That's the gun. That's the arm and the shoulder. That's the stave with the rope. That's the back of his shoulder. And now this needs to dry a bit. Just stick it down here. Once I feel that the head is on sturdily, I'll try and add some holsters, books, other stuff. Okay, so I put his holster on his right hip. Decided I'd do the book on his back. Dropping a little dab of power glue in there. Just 2 crumbs worth of green stuff. A little more power glue. Now I'm taking the book, taking the model, and I'm putting the book on his shoulder, on his back, at the edge, like that. Yeah, that looks sweet to me. Yeah, cool. Dope. So. holster on his hip, book on his back, and once that dries, I'll be adding a scroll, maybe a cantina and a knife. I don't know. Let's see how much space I have. I don't want to be crowding. I don't want to be crowding the model. Okay, so I added the scroll to the stave, added a little skull to the book, did the pouch and the cantina and the knife here on the back, make him a little more soldier-like. And I don't know, man. He's almost finished. Might give him a little more details when I'm convinced that everything is dried. But for now, he looks okay. He looks nice. Yeah, no, well, that's how you convert your own Wyrdvane Psyker from an Empire Flagellant kit and a zombie kit and a little bit of odd bits from here and there. Okay, tell me what you think. Leave a comment in the description, or leave a comment. Like it, hate it.
I don't know, man.
I'm feeling it. Yeah, let's put him upright. Quite like this man. Going to be putting him on a 25mm base. And once that dries, I'll do a little video on him. Show him in some proper lighting. Yeah, he's quite a dark figure. Big mouth, loud mouth. Nice scar on the face. Yeah, okay, well that's it.
Westside.
Like, hate, and subscribe. Do your thing, man, do your thing. See you next time.
Oh.